Arnold Schwarzenegger has always been the face of power, survival, and discipline, but even he admits that what happened on Predator in 1987 was unlike anything else in his career. For years, fans thought they knew everything about the movie that redefined action cinema. They memorized every line, every roar, every explosion. But Arnold has finally revealed that behind those scenes was chaos. A brutal, life-threatening experience that nearly broke the cast and crew. Beneath the sweat and muscles was fear, exhaustion, and something deeply human. The moment when fiction and reality began to blur, and survival became more than just a script. The production that nearly killed everyone. When Arnold signed on for Predator, he didn't realize he was stepping into what would become one of the most punishing shoots in Hollywood history. Filming began in early 1986 in the dense jungles near Palenque, Mexico, a place so hot and humid that it felt like the earth itself was trying to crush everyone on set. The production lasted nearly 4 months, and by the end of it, the entire cast looked like they had been through a real war. Director John McTiernan wanted realism. He didn't want actors pretending to be soldiers. He wanted them to become soldiers. Before cameras even rolled, Arnold, Jesse Ventura, Carl Weathers, and Bill Duke were sent through a military-style boot camp designed to strip away comfort and pride. They were forced to train, march, and sleep like an actual combat unit. McTiernan believed that authentic exhaustion and trust would show on screen, and it did. But the jungle had its own agenda. The temperatures regularly passed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The humidity made breathing difficult, and venomous insects swarmed over everything. Cameras broke down daily, and equipment rusted overnight. Jesse Ventura and Carl Weathers both contracted severe dysentery, spending days barely able to stand. Bill Duke's skin reacted badly to the constant insect bites, and Arnold lost over 20 pounds despite his strict bodybuilding diet. At one point, a crew member collapsed from heat stroke and had to be airlifted out of the jungle. Even simple tasks turned dangerous. The mud used in Arnold's camouflage scenes wasn't makeup. It was real jungle mud that hardened on his skin, freezing him at night. When he describes the experience now, he doesn't smile. He remembers the smell, the fatigue, and the fear that someone might not make it through. It wasn't acting anymore, he once said. We were surviving. Despite the suffering, those same brutal conditions gave the movie its unique intensity. The sweat was real. The dirt was real. The tension between the men wasn't just acting. It was exhaustion, pride, and the fight to endure. By the time filming wrapped, Predator had turned a group of Hollywood actors into genuine survivors. The creature disaster and Stan Winston's redemption. Few people know that the Predator almost never became the iconic monster we recognize today. In fact, the original design was a disaster, a bright red, rubbery creature that the cast jokingly called the Red Chicken. It was supposed to be menacing, but when Arnold first saw it, he thought it was a joke. Jean-Claude Van Damme, who had been hired to perform inside the suit, hated it too. He complained constantly, saying it looked ridiculous and made him feel like a circus act rather than a deadly hunter. The problem ran deeper than just appearance. The costume was impossible to work in. The actor couldn't see, couldn't move properly, and kept fainting in the oppressive jungle heat. Van Damme's frustration grew until it turned into open rebellion on set. He reportedly demanded redesigns, refused to take direction, and bragged that his martial arts moves would make the Predator graceful, like a ninja. But McTiernan and the cast disagreed. They wanted something alien, something that felt ancient and terrifying, not elegant or acrobatic. Tensions rose until Van Damme was finally fired, a decision that Arnold later said saved the movie. With production already behind schedule, the studio was desperate. They called in Stan Winston, the man behind the Terminator and Aliens, to fix everything. Winston had just weeks to completely reinvent the creature before filming had to resume. Then, fate intervened. During a flight with James Cameron, Winston sketched early ideas for the new Predator. Cameron glanced over and casually said, "You know, I always wanted to see something with mandibles." That offhand comment changed movie history. The final design, the dreadlocks, the armor, the insect-like mouth, was born from that moment in the air. When the new suit arrived on set, the reaction was immediate. Arnold later said that when Kevin Peter Hall, a 7'2" actor, stepped into the redesigned Predator suit, "We knew we had something special." Hall's size gave the creature a regal, terrifying power. He moved slowly, deliberately, like a hunter who had done this for centuries. The contrast between Arnold's muscle-bound Dutch and Hall's towering alien form gave their face-off an almost mythic quality. Real warriors behind the guns. What made Predator feel so authentic wasn't just the monster, it was the men facing it. Arnold once said that every actor on that set had something to prove, and it shows. These weren't just performers pretending to be soldiers. Many of them were real-life warriors who carried their discipline, pain, and pride into every scene. Jesse Ventura, for instance, wasn't just an actor, he was a former U.S. Navy SEAL. His military instincts gave the film its raw edge. Ventura became the unofficial technical advisor on set, teaching the others how to handle weapons, move in formation, and communicate like a real unit. His presence demanded respect, but his rugged humor kept the morale alive during those grueling days in the jungle. Ironically, Ventura's legendary "ain't got time to bleed" line came from his own tough guy attitude. Arnold later admitted, "That line wasn't acting, that was Jesse being Jesse." Carl Weathers brought a different kind of intensity. A former professional football player, he was fiercely competitive, especially with Arnold. Their dynamic, Dutch and Dylan, came from that same real-life rivalry. They constantly challenged each other, who could lift more, who could last longer in the heat, who could run faster through the terrain. The famous arm wrestling handshake scene wasn't scripted to be so dramatic. It started as a friendly test of strength between takes, but McTiernan saw it and decided to roll the camera. That moment, with veins popping and egos clashing, became one of the most iconic shots in action history. Then there was Bill Duke, quiet, intense, and deeply methodical. He took his role so seriously that some crew members were genuinely afraid of him. He stayed in character even off camera, speaking in a low voice and keeping his distance. Arnold described him as a man possessed by his own performance. Duke's portrayal of Mac, paranoid, grieving, and unpredictable, brought emotional depth to a film built on explosions and sweat. And finally, there was Shane Black, the youngest of the group. He wasn't just acting, he was one of Hollywood's hottest screenwriters at the time, fresh off Lethal Weapon. McTiernan cast him as the radio operator because he wanted a writer on set to help fix dialogue when needed. Between takes, Black secretly rewrote lines, polishing the banter and humor that gave Predator its personality. Each actor's real background, military, athletic, or creative, added a layer of truth that no script could manufacture. The exhaustion, the rivalry, the unspoken brotherhood, it was real. Arnold once said, "When you watch the movie, you're not seeing actors pretending to survive. You're seeing men who are actually fighting the jungle and somehow each other, the hidden philosophy of the hunt." For decades, fans have praised Predator for its action, its suspense, and its one-liners. But what Arnold finally revealed, and what most viewers never realized, is that the movie is built on a quiet philosophy about honor, instinct, and the thin line between man and monster. Beneath the gunfire and explosions, Predator is a story about two hunters, one human, one alien, both trapped in a world where strength means survival. Arnold has spoken about how director John McTiernan and screenwriters Jim and John Thomas wanted to make something more than another 1980s shoot-'em-up. They wanted a fable about evolution, a confrontation between two species bound by the same code: hunt or be hunted. The famous scorpion scene, where Dutch crushes the creature beneath his boot, wasn't just a random detail. Arnold explained in a 2025 interview that McTiernan used it as a metaphor. "The scorpion isn't evil," he said. "It kills because it's built to." The predator is the same. It doesn't hate. It hunts, because that's what it is. That realization completely changes how you see the movie. The alien isn't a villain. It's a mirror. Dutch, the modern soldier, begins the film relying on machines, guns, and technology. But as his team is picked off one by one, he's forced to strip all of it away. By the end, he's covered in mud, armed only with fire and sticks, a primitive man facing a creature that's evolved beyond him. Arnold described this transformation as a return to the essence of humanity: survival, instinct, courage. The predator, too, follows its own moral code. It doesn't kill the unarmed. It doesn't slaughter out of cruelty. When Dutch defeats it, the creature doesn't beg or flee. Instead, it activates its self-destruct device, a final act of warrior pride. According to Arnold, that moment wasn't about revenge. It was respect. It saw Dutch as an equal, he said. That's why it laughed before the explosion. It was the laugh of a fighter who knows he lost, but lost honorably. The unseen secrets that changed cinema. Arnold has recently opened up about how Predator wasn't just a movie. It was a collection of experiments, accidents, and creative risks that quietly changed how Hollywood made action films forever. From sound design to deleted scenes, from weapons training to philosophical undertones, Predator pushed the boundaries of filmmaking in ways most fans never realized. Take the sound, for instance. That eerie clicking noise the Predator makes, the one that still sends chills down your spine, wasn't random. Arnold revealed that it was a carefully engineered sound, created by blending recordings of lobster shells, human mouth clicks, and filtered electronic pulses. The sound designers wanted the Predator to feel both mechanical and organic, as if technology and biology had fused. That single idea, alien technology rooted in nature, influenced an entire generation of sci-fi films. Then there were the thermal vision shots. These weren't simple visual effects. The crew developed new techniques using heat-sensitive cameras, something that had rarely been done in 1986. Every time you see the Predator's point of view, you're watching genuine heat signatures, filmed with custom equipment that barely worked in the jungle's humidity. It was groundbreaking and dangerous. Crew members had to modify lenses daily just to keep the shots usable. Arnold also revealed a side of the film that audiences never saw: the deleted scenes. McTiernan originally shot sequences showing Dutch haunted by past missions, nightmares, regrets, flashes of guilt. These scenes would have shown that Dutch wasn't just a soldier. He was a man burdened by his own violence. Another cut subplot suggested that the Predator had hunted on Earth for centuries, collecting trophies from warriors across different eras. These moments were removed for pacing, but they hinted at a larger mythology that would later shape the franchise. Behind the camera, the work was grueling. The mud camouflage scene that became so iconic nearly ended Arnold's involvement. The mixture was freezing cold and applied in layers that dried like cement. He spent hours immobile, his body temperature dropping dangerously. "The mud wasn't makeup," he said years later. "It was punishment." Meanwhile, Kevin Peter Hall, trapped in 200 pounds of prosthetics, could barely breathe through the Predator mask, sometimes collapsing after long takes. The weapons, too, were far more real than anyone imagined. The production hired military advisors to train the cast in real tactics, from handling explosives to guerrilla movement. Arnold learned how to field strip rifles, how to use jungle cover effectively, even how to track invisible targets, all skills that lent realism to every movement he made as Dutch, the legacy in Arnold's 2025 revelation. Nearly 4 decades later, Predator still stands as one of the most influential action films ever made, a movie that blended horror, science fiction, and raw humanity into something timeless. And in 2025, Arnold Schwarzenegger finally came full circle. At 77, he returned to the Predator franchise, not in a traditional sequel, but in an epilogue that reignited the mythology and stirred deep emotions among longtime fans. During a breakfast meeting with director Dan Trachtenberg, Arnold gave his blessing for something extraordinary. His likeness would appear in an animated epilogue added to Predator. Killer of Killers, showing a haunting image. Predator warriors carrying the coffins of human soldiers. Dutch, Lieutenant Mike Harrigan from Predator 2, and Naru from Prey. It was a silent farewell, a symbolic funeral for the heroes who had faced the hunters and survived, if only temporarily. Arnold said yes because, for him, Dutch was never just a character. He was a part of his own identity, the man who endured the impossible and came back alive. This return wasn't about nostalgia. It was about closure. Arnold admitted that the memories of that jungle, the sleepless nights, and the physical pain stayed with him for years. When you've been through something like that, he said, you don't forget, you carry it. He viewed the epilogue not as a goodbye, but as a salute to his castmates, to Kevin Peter Hall, who died tragically young, and to everyone who turned a chaotic production into history. Arnold also revealed that Predator changed how he viewed his career. That movie taught me that strength isn't just muscles, he said in a 2025 interview. It's what's inside when you're afraid, when you're tired, and you still keep going. That lesson shaped every role that followed. From Terminator to True Lies, from Commando to Total Recall. Each of those characters carried traces of Dutch's grit and humanity. Nearly 40 years later, the truth behind Predator still sends chills down the spine, not just because of what we saw, but because of what really happened. Every bruise, every scream, every moment of exhaustion was real. Arnold's latest revelations remind us that some legends are forged not in special effects, but in pain, discipline, and survival. Which part of Arnold's revelation surprised you the most? The brutal filming, the creature's symbolism, or the tragic memories that still haunt him? Tell us below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more untold stories from Hollywood's greatest legends.